ministry. Now, if you're new here, this is week 2 of our family series. Ted Lowe kicked it off last week, did an amazing job just talking about families and the art of just being there in the presence of God and not filling every waking hour with something to do. And so I get to pick it up today. Now, I wanted to tell you why we're doing this series, and it really became a burden in my heart earlier this year, January, February. And God gives pastors different burdens for different seasons. And just the burden He's given me recently are the families and marriages of our community and of this church. And just having a front row seat to some really good times and to some really not so good times with families in our community and our church. I just had this super heavy burden for families. So I think about you a lot, pray for you a lot. And so we're doing this series. Now, I am not under the delusion that, hey, a 6-week series is going to make everything better. But my hope is that a 6-week sermon series does at least get you to talk about it and to not put on the outer mask and go, oh, it's fine. Oh, it's not that big a deal. And then with the groups and the young marriage group that's kicking off tonight that I'm teaching and just some of the home Bible studies are happening, really, we want to be a heartbeat of this church, and that out of this church, comes healthy marriages and healthy families and healthy kids. And so that's really the heart behind this whole sermon series. And so you just need to know I think about you a lot. I think about your families. And I get families come in different shapes and sizes, right? Some are married, some are divorced, some have never been married before. Some of you have kids, never had kids. Some of you are empty nesters. Some of you are retired. Some of you are still working. When you think of families, maybe it's, the in-laws or aunts or uncles or brothers and sisters, but however you define your family unit, my hope and prayer for you is that it centers around God, that God begins to grow your family in a very healthy spiritual way that I know that only He can do. And so that's the whole premise of this series. And so as we kick off today, my part, I just want to talk about, in my opinion, the most iconic Bible verse about family that you'll find in the Bible. The most iconic Bible verse that when you think about family or you're wanting to go to a Bible verse about family, then this is, if not then it's one of the most iconic Bible verses that you can read about family. And if you're not really a church person, you still know this verse, because you probably have seen it on a coffee mug or a bumper sticker or a tattoo or in somebody's house. And you definitely have seen this if you've ever stepped foot into a Hobby Lobby. This verse is everywhere, and they sell it everywhere. And the verse is this, and it's said by Joshua, and he says this. He goes, "But as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord." Just this iconic verse. But as for me and my family, or maybe you've seen it, but as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. And I was talking to Brianna this week, and I said, what makes this such an iconic verse for you? And she goes, oh, that's easy. She says, because Joshua makes this declarative, emphatic statement about his family. She says it's unwavering. She says, Joshua goes, here's my family, and here's what we're going to do. She goes, it's a very inspiring thing of what you want to be as a family. You see, I think that the flip side of the coin is true. I think all of us know what type of family we don't want to be. I think we've all been in public. I think we've all been to Disney World. We've all been to the airport. We've seen certain families who go, we don't want to be that family. Maybe you're single or you're engaged and you're about to get married and you go, man, I don't want my marriage to be like my parents' marriage. I don't want my kids to be like my niece and nephew. I want things to be different, so I know I don't want to be like that. But Joshua lays out, but as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord. And it's so easy to go, yes, that is what I want for my family. And however that looks, and whatever shape that takes, and wherever God moves us, man, I want myself and I want your family, I want that to be a family that serves and follows the Lord. It's a powerful verse, it's an iconic verse, but it means even more when you understand the context of what it was written. If you got a Bible, go to Joshua chapter 24. If you don't have a Bible, they're going to put it up on the screen. And Joshua, he says this phrase as a 110-year-old man who knows his time of death is near. And so he gathers the tribes of Israel together, and he's given them essentially a farewell speech. And the first part of Joshua 24, it's the Lord speaking to the tribes of Israel. And he goes through the whole history of the nation of Israel, starting from the family of Abraham all the way to now they're in the promised land. And so this is God speaking. I want to pick it up in verse 11. So God says this. He says, when you crossed the Jordan River and came to Jericho, the men of Jericho fought against you, as did the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Hivitites, the Jebusites, and a bunch of other ites, all right? But God says, but I gave you victory over them. He says, I sent terror ahead of you to drive out the two kings of the Amorites. It was not your swords or bows that brought you to victory. God says, I gave you the land you had not worked on, and I gave you the towns you did not build, the towns where you're now living. I gave you vineyards and olive groves for food, though you did not plant them. Essentially, God's saying this. Listen, the prosperity that you're enjoying now, children of Israel, that happened because I gave it to you. Your enemies were driven out. The food that you're eating, the good things that you're enjoying, he goes, I did that for you. I've taken care of you as a nation, as a people, all the way through. These are the things that I've done. And then Joshua begins to speak, and this is Joshua speaking to the nation of Israel, verse 14. Joshua says, so, fear the Lord, serve him wholeheartedly. Put away forever the idols your ancestors worshipped when they lived beyond the Euphrates River and in Egypt. Serve the Lord alone. But if you refuse to serve the Lord, then choose today whom you will serve. Would you prefer the gods your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates, or will it be the gods of the Amorites in whose land you now live? And please don't miss this beautiful sarcasm that he uses. He goes, serve who you want to. Would you like to serve the God of the Amorites? Oh, by the way, in whose land you now occupy? If you want to serve them, the choice is up to you. But then look at the very iconic statement at the very end. But, as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord. And he makes this declarative, emphatic, unwavering statement about his family. But as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord. Just a few things I want to pull out of that phrase. It was true about Joshua's family, that I hope is true about my family, and I hope it's true about your family. The first idea is this, and it's simply the united family. The united family. Notice Joshua says, but as for me and my family, we'll serve the Lord. Not just I will serve the Lord, they will serve the Lord, I'm going to do this or they're going to do this. No, it is together, me and my family. We are united in service to the Lord. There's something extremely powerful when a family is united around the things of God. When a family is fractured, disunified, kind of does their own thing, it's scattered. But when a family comes together, united around the things of the Lord, it's extremely powerful, and it's also extremely freeing. Because notice Joshua, he gathers the tribes of Israel and goes, hey, choose this day whom you're going to serve, this God, that God, the true living God. He goes, the choice is yours. He said, but let me tell you what we're going to do. Me and my family, we will serve the Lord. I'm not asking your opinion. I'm not asking your thoughts. I don't really care what you think about my family, because we are united in this. And a family that is united is healthy and is strong and finds great freedom in a culture that likes to offer a lot of pressure. As a family, when you go, we are united around the things that this is the glue that holds our family together, then opinions come and go. Facebook comes and goes. Your in-laws, your parents, your friends, they all have opinions about them. Go, no, what we do and don't do is filtered by our service to the Lord, and this is what unites us. So whether we go public school or private school or home school, whether we take this job or don't take this job, whether we take the raise or don't take the raise, whatever we decide to do, it's filtered around unity and service to the Lord. And you know this. But everybody, whether you know it or not, has an opinion about what you should or shouldn't do. I don't know if you know this or not. They have an opinion about how you should act in your marriage. They certainly have an opinion how you should raise your kids. They have an opinion about what job you should take, how much money you should make, what kind of car you should drive. They have an opinion about how much education you should have or shouldn't have. Everybody has opinions about what you should or shouldn't do. But man, when you are united under the Lord and service Him as a family, it provides a whole lot of freedom in a culture that provides a whole lot of pressure. But everybody, man, they have opinions. Brianna and I found this out early on in our marriage. Our oldest son, Daniel, who's about to be 12 at this time, was like a year and a half, 18 months, 16 months. He was our only child at the time. And so, man, it was Daniel. We'd go out, hang out, eat lunch, and just kind of spoil him rotten. It was just the three of us. And so one day we went out to lunch, the three of us, and then we went to this place that had like an indoor play gym. If you've seen those with like foam pads everywhere and little things. And so they had a place for the parents, and Brianna and I are just sitting there talking, having a nice time. And Daniel is just playing around. And he comes up to the edge of like a little platform or slide or something, and he's about to fall off. And so Brianna very calmly just gets up and doesn't like freak out, but just goes over there, picks up Daniel, sets him down, and he kind of runs off. She doesn't think much about it, and she turns back to come sit next to me, and she passes another mom that sort of knew Brianna. And she looks at Brianna, and she goes, "Brianna, remember, you need to be a mother, not a smother." I'm like, whoa. I was like, you were about to get smothered with a right hook from Brianna. That's about what's about to happen. I was like, oh my, and Brianna's amazing. She goes, oh, thank you for your opinion, and just kind of calmly walks back. So we leave, and later in the car, Brianna told me everything she wanted to tell that lady. I don't remember the lady's name, but if you're watching, you're welcome. I took one for you on that one. My goodness. She's like, I was like, yeah, babe, I'm with you. When we are united, this is yes. I don't want my kid falling off the slide. I'm with you. High five. Everybody's got an opinion. But man, when you're united, go, man, this is the glue that holds our family together. This is why we make decisions. Everybody else is going to make decisions. Joshua goes, choose this God, that God, whatever you want to do. He goes, as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord, the united family. Second idea is this, the committed family. The committed family. Notice he says, but as for me and my family, he says, we will serve the Lord. We will. Not we might, we probably, we oughta, if it's convenient, we really should do this. If it fits in our schedule, it goes, no, we will serve the Lord. There's no gray area. There's no neutral. So this is what we're going to do. It's a committed family. You've got opinions, you've got thoughts, you're going to do what you want to do. Let me tell you what my family's do. We're united and we are committed to doing this. This is not a 50-50 if it works for us. We're all in. We are committed to serving the Lord. And Joshua goes, you do the same. You choose. Choose the false God, choose the true God. He goes, the choice is yours, but choose. Or in other words, neutral's no good. You can't hang out neutral. Go forward, go backward, but pick one. He goes, as for me and my family, let me tell you what we're committed to. We're committed to service to the Lord. Not a hope we should or not to, or that would be a nice idea. We will serve the Lord. Neutral is no good. When I was 15 years old, my grandfather gave me for my first car and taught me with my driver's ed and got my driver's license. But he gave me a 1990 Isuzu pickup truck without any power steering, and it was a 5-speed manual. Yeah, good. Okay, you appreciate the pain that I endured on that car. And my grandfather taught me how to drive the manual transmission. And the reason why, and I know my grandfather and my dad are watching this together right now, so Pawpaw was a lot more patient when gears would grind than my dad was, all right? So Dad's like, I'll teach you. I was like, no, Pawpaw is cooler than you. So my Pawpaw taught me how to drive this truck. And if you've ever driven a manual, learn how to drive, then you know the scariest part about learning to drive a manual is when you are at a stoplight on a hill. You know that. And as like a 15, 16-year-old, like you just start breaking out in sweats and your palms are nervous. You're going, oh my goodness. Because if you don't get off the brake, on the gas, and dump the clutch in a smooth motion, you're in the front bumper of the car behind you. And the car behind you knows you're the 15-year-old kid learning to drive a manual, so they're sweating too. It's a whole thing. But you know, it's off the brake and on the gas and go, or just stay on the brake, but don't hang out in neutral. And this is what Joshua is talking about, going, listen, you choose whatever you want to do. But as for me and my family, we are committed. We will serve the Lord. Now, I don't know if you know this about our church here, but we use a curriculum from birth through high school called Orange Curriculum. They're actually located out of Vickery Village, but they serve about 11,000 churches across the nation. We're just one of 11,000. It's an amazing curriculum because their idea is going, listen, we're going to take you, the family, us, the church, let's partner together to instill godly biblical principles into these kids from birth through high school. It's a phenomenal, really well thought out curriculum that we use. And one of the resources that they have is a mobile app called the Parent Q app. Parent, and it's CUE app. And it's for Apple or Android or wherever you download that stuff. And so if you don't have it, man, I would encourage you to do that. If you're a parent or even if you're a grandparent. And so if you do that, man, take your phones out now. Half of you got them out anyway. Just flip out of Facebook. Go to your app store right now. All right, just do that for me. Download Parent Q. It's free. I did it this week. I told our staff, I was like, this is amazing. They're like, well, we've had it for a while. I was like, better late than never. So I downloaded this app and I was like, this is unbelievable, the resource that it gives you if you got kids or grandkids. And so I took a screenshot of mine, and let me just kind of walk you through it. So you upload your kids, all right? So I uploaded mine, you upload yours, all right? Daniel, David, Kara, and Micah. And then as you scroll down, it's tied to the curriculum that they learned Sunday. So what they learned today, it'll be the verse up there. They'll have questions for you to ask. There'll be some things to do with them. The phase that your kid is going through. And the most scary thing about all, how many weeks you have left until they graduate. Yeah. Some of you, that might be like a party. Some of it might be, I don't know where you're at with your kids. So for each kid in each stage and phase of life, it's a phenomenal resource. And so it's a free thing, but you're going, you know what? We as a family, we're committed to doing this. We as a church, we're committed to helping you instill godly biblical principles into your kids. Be united and be committed to service to the Lord. It's not maybe, it's not I'm thinking about it, it's we will serve the Lord. Let me just tell you this, and I say this as a friend, not as a pastor. Just as a friend. As a family, if you would commit to regular church attendance, it does some amazing, healthy things for your family. And again, I don't say that as a pastor going, hey, come to the church. I say it as a friend going, man, I care deeply for your families. And I've had a front row seat for a really long time to watching families that come to church on a regular basis versus those that don't. And can you still be committed to the Lord? Yeah, but there's just something extremely healthy when you go, you know what? We are committed to a regular church rhythm in our routine. And I don't care if it's this church or any of the other amazing churches around. It can be here. It can be Oak Grove Baptist. It can be Browns Bridge Community Church. It can be First Redeemer. It can be North Point. It can be Grace Point. It can be First Baptist Cumming. I mention those just because I know all those pastors. I know they all preach Jesus and love people, and we all do it a little differently. And any of those guys would be like, just get plugged into a local church. There's something extremely healthy that when you go, you know what? We are a part of a local church. And let me just say this now as the pastor. This church environment, the hour that we're here, this is not a program that gives you an inspiring, encouraging word and childcare for your kids. That's not what this is. And if you think that it's my fault, let me tell you what this is. This is a chance for you and your family to encounter the presence of God. Like that's what all this, the music, the message, the people handing out coffee, the people helping you park your cars, the stuff we have out there, the kids, the students, all of that is going, wait, we want to get out of the way. We want to connect your heart to the heart of God. Because we believe that when you do that, incredible life change for you and your family can and will happen. And so this is not oh man, I miss church. I'm sure it was an inspiring thing or some good music. It may be good music. It may be an encouraging word. But man, pull me out of the picture, pull Sean out of the picture, and go, I want to connect with the heart of God. I want to have an encounter and a presence with God. And then there's just something special when you do that together as a family. The united family, the committed family, and the last one is this, the focused family. The focused family. Notice he says, but as for me and my family, we will, in the last few words, serve the Lord. Not serve this God, not serve that God, but serve the Lord. Not serve sports, not serve the business, not serve friends, not serve my calendar, not serve another activity, but together we will serve the Lord. Focused on that singular idea. And all of those other things are going to be there, and they're easy to be distracted, but he goes, listen, choose who you want to. He goes, serve the Lord wholeheartedly is what I'd recommend. In order to do that, he goes, put away forever the idols of your ancestors and serve the Lord alone. It's this focused idea of going, man, there's a lot of distractions out there. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good. There's a lot of noise in the culture that we live in, a lot more noise than what was going on back there. We've got noise constantly, 24/7, 365. From social media to podcasts to advertising to TV to school to environments. I mean, it's this insane amount of noise and distractions. But a healthy family is one that is focused on service to the Lord. And lets all the other noises be drowned out by the voice of God. You can't stop all the other things. I mean, school's going to be there, sport's going to be there, Netflix is still going to be there, the opportunities are still going to be there. And sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not so good, but they're not the ones that guide your family. They're not the ones that control your family. That's what Joshua is saying to the children of Israel, the same to true today. You have a choice. You have a choice of what drives your family. You have a choice of what goes on your family calendar. You have a choice of what the voices that you listen to and the distractions that you allow in or out, but the choice is yours. And Joshua's going, listen, you can do what you want to do. Let me just tell you what me and my family are going to do. We will serve the Lord. A lot of voices, a lot of distractions, but drown it out with the voice of God. Let me demonstrate it for you this way. So many, many years ago in college, my freshman year of college, I had to purchase one of these guys right here, a box fan. Now, I am just curious, how many of you currently, you are box fan sleepers? Just by a show of hands. Yes, okay, good. You're my people. 9:30, there weren't a whole lot. So I told them, you guys sleep in. You're the box fan crowd, all right? So I love a box fan. We still sleep with a box fan every night. So this is our box fan. I've got to get it home this afternoon or Brianna will be upset. So now, Brianna, earlier this year, she bought me a home automation device. I know some of you have your homes fully automated. We do as well. She bought me this right here. This is the clap on, clap off plug. I'm not joking. Like, that's seriously, it saved a big fight in our marriage one time. So we're like, you turn the box fan on. No, you turn it on. And so we did how we just clap. So there it is right there. Now, when that thing is on, hang on. Nice. Would you guys like to turn it on? Go for it. Oh, go. No, stop. Sorry. High-tech technology. I need to explain how this works, okay? It's 2 claps, and that's it, all right? It's not an applause. If you'd like to try it one more time, 1, 2, 3. There we go. It's finicky. It likes me, not you, all right? But listen, so when this thing is on, there's still a lot of squeaks and noises and things at our house, but when this is on, it drowns out all the other noise. And we have this on not for the air movement, but purely for the sound. Because we've trained ourselves that when this box fan comes on, all of a sudden, all the other noises and the squeaks and things that you hear go bump in the night, it all gets drowned out. It's the same with the voice of God in your life. You can't really stop all the other distractions and things going on, but you can make the voice of God louder in your life. And so as a family, there's a whole lot of pressures, but what if you go, hey, before we decide what we do and don't do, before we decide what extracurricular activities we do, what vacation we go to, before dad or mom takes the job or doesn't, what if we sat down together and prayed? What if we actually opened up God's word together and go, what does this decision, what does this calendar invite, what is this activity, how does it impact our family? Let's focus on service to the Lord. And maybe this is a good idea, maybe it's not, but let's listen to the voice of God and let it drown out all the other distractions. The united family, the committed family, the focused family. But here's the bottom line. Like, if you hear nothing else, I just want you to be a family that serves the Lord. That's it. And if you walk out of this room today and we don't ever see each other again until heaven, but I know that you are a family that serves the Lord. You're not a perfect family, neither am I, but if you go, man, I'm going to be that family that serves the Lord. Here's what you'd do. You'd make me one happy pastor, and you'd make yourself one healthy family. If you go, you know what? We're not exactly united, but we're working on it. We're not exactly committed, but we're working on it. We're not exactly focused, but we're working on it because together we want to be that family that serves the Lord. I don't think there's anything that you can do that will bring more health to your family dynamic and unit, and however that looks like, than to be a family that serves the Lord. So let me just give you a few questions to ask yourself. First question is this: what is one step your family can take toward unity? What is one step your family can take toward unity? And I get some of you sit here a very fractured family. And you're going, Chris, that's not going to happen overnight. No, it's not. But there is a step you can take. And maybe just that first step is admitting we're fractured. We don't have a glue that holds our family together. Maybe the first step is just saying, I'm sorry. But what is that first step that your family can take toward unity? Second question is this: where in life is your family most committed? As you look at your life and your family, however that looks, where is it most committed? You go, how do I know where I'm most committed? Very simply. Look at your debit card charges. Look at your text message threads. Look at your email. Look at your calendar invites. Listen to your conversations. Look at your Netflix queue. Take at all those things and go, oh, here's where I'm most committed. What area in your life are you most committed to? And if it's not in service to the Lord, if it doesn't revolve around service to the Lord, change. Third and final question is this: what distractions in your family need to be drowned out? What distractions in your family need to be drowned out? All those things are loud voices, but the voice of God is what needs to be the loudest. And if you would listen to the voice of God and seek Him first and foremost, all the other distractions doesn't mean they go away. It just means you don't hear them quite as clearly as you hear the voice of the Lord. There's a famous preacher back in the 1800s. His name was D.L. Moody, evangelist and that kind of stuff. And he said this about family, and I read this years ago, and I've just always liked it. He said this. He said, a man ought to live so that everyone knows that he is a Christian, and most of all, his family ought to know. A man ought to live so that everyone knows he is a Christian, and most of all, his family ought to know. Now, if I asked you to raise your hand, would you consider yourself a Christian? I'm guessing 95% of you would raise your hand. That's great. But the bigger question is does your family know? Does your spouse know? Do your kids know? Is your mom or dad, is your aunt, your uncle, that brother-in-law, that sister-in-law, does your family know that you are a Christian? Do they know that you're united around that fact? Do they know that you're committed? And do they know that you're focused no matter what? Finish with these last few verses. Verse 24. So Joshua throws out this challenge, going, listen, hey, you choose whatever you want to do. It's his final words. And the people respond. Verse 24. The people said to Joshua, we will serve the Lord our God. We will obey Him alone. That's great news. So Joshua, verse 25. So Joshua made a covenant with the people that day at Shechem, committing them to follow the decrees and regulations of the Lord. Joshua recorded these things in the book of God's instructions. As a reminder of their agreement, he took a huge stone, rolled it beneath the terebinth tree beside the tabernacle of the Lord. Hey, you guys choose what you want to do, this God, that God, or the true God. Hey, Joshua, we're all in. We're serving the Lord. Great. Then here's the covenant. I'm going to write this down, and I'm going to roll this gigantic stone in front of this tree. And this will serve as a reminder of your covenant before the Lord. See, I want you to be a family that serves the Lord. Not perfect, but willing to work toward unifying it, unifying the family, being committed to serving the Lord, and being focused as a family. And so I don't have a gigantic stone or a tree to roll a rock in front of to remind you, but I do have a Sharpie and some plexiglass. And so here's what I want you to do in just a second when the service is over. If you'd go, you know what, Chris, we're going to commit, we're going to choose to serve the Lord. Then right out these doors, there's a big plexiglass wall. You're going to see names up there from the first service. And there's a bunch of Sharpies. And just take a Sharpie and just together as a family, just go, we choose to serve the Lord, and then your last name, the Smith family, whatever it is. And let it be as a reminder. Every time you walk through these doors, we're not perfect, but we choose to serve the Lord. Because here's what I know. I know that some of the biggest family fights happen in our church parking lot. I hear that. I never experienced it personally, but I hear things, right? Oh, I know that, you know that, but man, when you walk through these doors, you can look and go, hey, you remember September 15th, 2019? We committed to serve the Lord. We chose to serve the Lord. Oh, yeah. We need to recommit to that. Yep. We need to be reunited around that. Yep. We need to be refocused to that. Yeah, we sure do. Because every time they would see that stone on that tree, it was a reminder. Do you remember your commitment? Oh, yeah. You remember the covenant? I do. And so if you as a family, however your family unit looks like, if you go, you know what? Today we choose to serve the Lord. Then just after the service, take the Sharpie, write on the plexiglass, and let it be a reminder. It's not just oh man, that's a great sermon, I need to do something about it. It's going, no. This is a commitment today that our family is making. To be united, to be committed, and be focused on serving the Lord. Let me pray for us. With every head bowed and every eye closed, let me just ask you this question, just as a friend and as your pastor. I want to pray for you for your family today. And so if you're here in this room, you're going, you know what, Chris, man, we need to be reunified around this idea of serving the Lord. Chris, man, we need to recommit. We've got a lot of things, kind of fill that area of our life. We need to recommit to serving the Lord. Or Chris, we need to refocus. A lot of distractions that we're listening to. We need to refocus. If that's you, and I can pray for your family specifically here today, would you raise your hand just so I can see, just personally? My goodness, hands all over. You can put it down, thank you. Father, I pray for the families that raise their hands and whatever they're going through. Lord, man, my heart breaks for them as a pastor and as a friend. I care deeply for the families of this community and of this church. So Lord, my prayer is, however their family looks like, God, that they would be reunified in this area of service to you, God, that you would be the first and foremost in their family. God, I pray that they'd be committed. Not they might or they should or they really need to get around it, but that they would be committed to serving you. And finally, Lord, that they would be focused. A lot of distractions, but Lord, that my prayer is that the voice of God would be the loudest thing in their life and that they would listen and let it drown out all the other distractions. God, I pray for the families here. Pray for my family. I pray that all of us, God, would be a family that is committed to serving you. Not perfect, but committed. Not perfect, but unified. Not perfect, but focused on serving the Lord. Jesus, I thank you for who you are. I pray for the families here today. We ask these things in your name. Amen.